Colleges and universities come in many different types and sizes, from a small, single-building technical college to a huge university with many large buildings. That gives you a lot of choices, but here's a simple tour of different college types to help you sort out your options. Technical colleges tend to offer 2-year programs that concentrate on teaching knowledge and skills for a specific career. Students who leave these institutions will be job-ready with specific career skills. Technical colleges tend to be smaller and may not have some of the amenities we typically associate with large colleges, like dormitories. Community colleges also tend to offer 2-year programs where students can begin working on a bachelor's degree and then transfer to a 4-year university to complete their schooling. Community colleges also offer 2-year career programs that prepare you for a specific career. Like technical colleges, they are typically smaller than 4-year colleges and universities. There are also schools like the Minneapolis Community and Technical College that combine both a technical and community college. State universities are generally larger than other colleges and offer a large variety of degrees and majors. They typically include many buildings, and you may have to travel a large distance to get from one class to another. Oftentimes, large universities will have their own bus or transit system to help you get from one part of the university to another. Because universities are large in size, they typically also have larger class sizes. Universities also will offer the largest variety of options for housing and student activities. All colleges and universities are different, but there are a few features that are common among many of them. Many colleges have a library for students to use where they can check out books, do research, and find a quiet place to study. Many of your classes will require you to purchase books, and many colleges have a bookstore on site where you can buy new or used textbooks and other items like discounted computer software. Depending on the size of the school you are attending, you might find food options available anywhere from a small coffee shop to a large cafeteria. You might even have several options for places to eat. Every college and university has a variety of clubs and student organizations that are a great way to socialize and meet new people. Clubs can be centered around hobbies, sports, academics, cultural backgrounds, and more. To help us learn more about college life and the types of services available, let's talk to the director of the Office for Students with Disabilities at a community college and a student that is currently attending college who uses disability services.
Hi, I'm Debbie Tillman, the director of the Office for Students with Disabilities at Normandale Community College. In the past, I was also a special education teacher at the high school level.
My name is Ann Model. I'm a junior at the University of St. Thomas. My major is mechanical engineering, and I went to Staples Motley High School.
The college environment can be very different from the one that you experience in high school. In high school, teachers always check your completed work. In college, professors may not even look at your homework, but they assume that you've learned the information that they asked you to perform. In high school, teachers might remind you to get work completed, whereas professors in college might not do that. They'll expect you to read, save, and consult the syllabus and know exactly what's going on in the class without them telling you what is in the class.
A big difference between college and high school is your schedule. It's definitely not set 8 to 5 or 8 to 3, because now you have classes spread out during the day. You might have an 8 a.m. class and then not another one until 6 p.m. So you need to make sure that during the breaks you're getting stuff you need to, or getting stuff done that you need to, like your homework. I always think it's really good to just review your stuff right after you get out of class before you forget, or do your homework right away, just because that way it's so fresh in your mind. And it's little things like that you need to get used to from high school, because now you have all of this time, but then you'll get to finals week and you're like, whoa, I don't have any time. So this time management is huge.
In high school, teachers are available before, during, and after class, and they may ask students if they need additional assistance. In college, professors expect students to initiate the contact and see them during a scheduled office hour.
When I was a freshman, I didn't realize how important office hours would be, and then I actually started going and realized, oh, my professors do want to help me. Like, they have time set aside for that, so that was really helpful to go there, and then they get to know you, which is good too.
In high school, teachers provide information about missed work. Professors in college expect students to get notes from someone else in class if they miss class for a particular day. Teachers in high school try to write all the information on the board. Professors in college may lecture nonstop, and they expect students to identify the important points, and they may or may not write on the board, although most do use a PowerPoint. In high school, tests are frequent and cover small amounts of material. In college, the tests are infrequent and cover a large amount of material. High school students are required to read short assignments that are discussed and retaught in class, whereas in college, students are assigned substantial amounts of reading and writing, which may not be directly taught in class, but they'll be expected to know on a test or quiz. In high school, grades are often given for assigned work, and students can receive substantial amounts of points for attendance. College is usually graded on a few tests and papers, and daily work may not even be graded. In college, a student could have perfect attendance and could fail the course if they didn't do any of the work. High school involves being in class about 30 hours a week, whereas in college, you would be in class 12 to 16 hours a week. College students have to spend a lot more time out of class studying, whereas in high school, a lot of that schoolwork could be done while they were in class during the day. This information is also available at www.mnaid.org. The kind of housing that's available while going to college varies from person to person and from school to school. Some students choose to live in a dormitory on campus, but other schools don't provide a dormitory. So there is the option for students to get an apartment, either with other people or by themselves. Students can also choose to live at home while they go to school, and that's a way to get support from their family and live close to where they're going to school. Transportation in the post-secondary level is very different from a high school. The post-secondary institution does not provide transportation for students. So students have to figure out on their own how they're going to get to the college. They could use public transportation, they could drive their own car, they could walk, they could use a bicycle. I mean, there's a lot of modes for transportation. If a student has a physical disability, they have a couple options as well. If you live in the metro area, you could use a service such as Metro Mobility that you would need to make sure you have in place before you start school. You could be dropped off by a parent or friend, or you could drive yourself if that's a possibility. Some institutions will provide buses and other transportation within the university setting, so that's also a possibility for transportation. A major is the course of study that you choose to go for when you're in college. So some people have a major of education or psychology or business. Those are all majors, but so are culinary, law enforcement, carpentry. Those are majors. Choosing a major is different depending on the program that you would like to be in at a college campus. If a student is interested in a career program, those classes are basically chosen for you, so your major is chosen by being in that career program. For instance, if you were going to be in a culinary program, your major would be culinary, and so you would go to a school that has culinary classes. Certain schools don't have culinary classes, but if you want to go for culinary, you'd want to go to a college with a culinary program. And those classes would be very specific, and then you'd have a major chosen. Most students, though, don't have a major when they first go to college. They might go to a community college and say, I'm just doing my generals, and that's liberal arts. They're doing their first 2 years of general curriculum. If they go to a four-year college, it's the same way generally for most majors. And then by the end of the second year, once you've done the 60 credits, you'll need to have picked a major. Some people change their minds many times on a major, and they'll even switch schools depending on their major. So you don't have to have a major, but if you're going to go in a specific career program, that major is determined up front before you even start school. Many resources are available to help a student pick a college. The biggest resource is the internet. You can use a search engine and find nearly any college in the world and find a lot of information depending on the quality of the website. So I always refer students to go to the website and find things. There's a specific site that was very helpful that was developed by the Pacer Center called c3online.org, and you can find a lot of information about schools through that website. The other places that you can get information about choosing colleges is taking a career class, going to a career center, both at a college or at a high school, talking to your counselor, talking to a teacher, and talking to other people you know and having them give you information about colleges that they may have attended or programs that they've experienced themselves. When making a decision about where you'd like to attend college, there are a lot of things to consider. Fortunately, there are many choices in the state of Minnesota and in the Twin City area.
There was a lot of planning. I planned for college basically from the time I was a freshman in high school, just because you need to do all the applications, the ACT, SAT, scholarship applications. So just plan as early as you can because there's so much to get done, and that way you can just enjoy your time after you finish all those applications and everything you need to do. So
the first thing that I would think about is your career choice, your career path. Certain colleges are going to have that option that they're thinking about. For instance, if they're looking at carpentry or culinary or law enforcement, they'll want to go to a specific school. So taking into consideration the career plan is really important.
I knew that I wanted to go for engineering, and my mom wanted me to stay in Minnesota because it's close. So basically my options were the U of M or St. Thomas. And at first I really wanted to go to the U just because it's so much bigger, and I thought it would be really great, but I actually toured both places twice, and the second time I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to St. Thomas. I'm like, oh man, could not imagine going from like West Bank to East Bank, and in the winter I don't think it would have worked very well with my wheelchair. So
the other thing to consider is if they're looking to have a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. If they would like to get a 2-year degree in law enforcement, that can be started and completed at a community college. But if a student would like a 4-year degree in law enforcement, they could start that at a community college and end it at a 4-year institution. Or they could do the whole thing at a 4-year institution. So there's very many choices for students to think about depending on what their other needs in their life are. If you're don't have a major and you don't know what you want to do, community colleges offer the opportunity for you to do your general education requirements. Most 4-year degrees require 2 years of general ed. Another consideration is cost. Within most states, you have the choice between public colleges and private colleges. Public colleges in the state of Minnesota are 2 large systems. The first large system is the University of Minnesota system. And if students go to the University of Minnesota system, that's a public system, and it's going to be less costly. MnSCU, the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities, is another large system, and that's what community colleges, technical colleges, and their 4-year colleges are involved in. And those are generally less expensive than a private college. Now, sometimes a private college is a better option, and that's because privates might have a very specific program, just what you want, that you can finish in maybe a year or 18 months because it might continue through the summer. So going to a public college is not always the best choice for everyone. Going to a private college is not always the best choice for everyone, but you have to think about the cost. The cost will vary a lot between a private and a public. Financial aid is generally provided at the college through the financial aid office. So just like other students who don't have a disability, people with disabilities need to do their FAFSA and need to apply for financial aid assistance. However, sometimes colleges will have a specific scholarship or foundation money that's available for people with disabilities. So you should check with your financial aid office about that. Grants may also be available through a student's parents' place of work. You can find additional financial aid information too on the C3 website.
Well, I think at both the U and St. Thomas is an issue because not all the buildings are accessible because older colleges, older buildings. I know here there's a few buildings that I'll never have classes in just because there's no entrance that's accessible. So I have priority registration, so when I sign up for classes, I can get them switched to other buildings, or I don't have to take a class in that building. And I thought at St. Thomas, just because it was private and it's not like funded by the state, they wouldn't have to be accessible, but they still do.
When students decide on a place that they want to attend to go to college, there are people on those campuses, staff people, that can help you choose your classes. Most colleges require that students attend an advising and registration session, and staff at those advising and registration sessions help students pick their classes. Additional assistance picking out classes can be provided by other staff on campus, including counselors, disability services, career center, and student support services. Students can also ask faculty about the classes for a particular program, and that can assist them in picking classes. If you as a student start falling behind in a class, there are many things you can do and services available. But the most important thing is you need to take charge and speak to someone. Many students will stop attending class when they start feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and anxious. And that's the worst thing you can do, is just to give up. So you need to seek those services so someone can help you. There are lots of places where you can receive assistance on the college campus. One of them is Disability Services. They can help you with the process and help you to know who you should talk to. If you're having difficulty in class, you should also talk to your instructor. Your instructor can help you if you're having concerns about a particular assignment, or they can help you know what you should or shouldn't do to try to stay up with the class. You could also speak with a counselor, and they can be of assistance. Student support services people are also available. Most colleges have an academic center if you needed assistance with study strategies, organization, and time management, and there usually is staff in those spaces to assist a student as well. Most colleges also have tutoring available. If you need that kind of assistance, make sure you go to those centers and get the help that you need. Everyone will provide similar accommodations, but the mode in which they provide it will be different. So it's important for students that have a disability to talk to the disability person at the school that they'd like to attend, and go there for a visit and a discussion with that person and find more about what they need and how it would be provided at that school.
Yeah, I think most colleges have disability services, and at St. Thomas it's actually called enhancement services, just because they wanted. It's more of an equalizer, so students with disabilities are the same playing level as other students. So they have helped me from the time before I came here, actually, and yeah, they still are. I work with Residence Life through them getting accessible housing on campus. They arrange note takers for all my classes. I take my tests in their office because I have extended time, because it takes me longer to write, and then they're just really helpful. Anything that I could think of, they'll try to help me out with.
College disability offices provide a lot of accommodations, but usually the most common accommodation is extra time for tests. Other attesting accommodations can include a quieter place, having an audio version of the test, enlarged, use of computer. So there are many accommodations that can be done with a testing accommodation, but extra time is the most common. The way services are provided at the college level through disability services can be very different from the way they were provided in the K-12 system. Most of the services provided at the college level are accommodations. So things like extra time for tests, quiet place for tests, note takers, all those things are accommodations. In high school, many students experienced modifications. So their tests were changed, the curriculum was changed so that the student could experience success. In college, we will not modify the curriculum, but we'll accommodate it. It's really important, however, for students to be able to talk to their instructors or talk to the disability services person to find out if the accommodations that they had in high school that helped them could also be implemented in the college.
When I first came here, I brought in my 504 plan and like the accommodations I received on the ACT, and we worked out a plan from there. But I still need to schedule all my tests and make sure that all the accommodation requests get sent to all my professors, and talk to my professors myself a lot of the time too.
Students need to discuss their concerns with the Disability Services Coordinator so that they know the differences between how the accommodations will be implemented at the college level. If students don't understand that, they can become very frustrated. I also find it very helpful that if a student knows that they want to attend college, that they use only accommodations in their junior and senior year of high school. That way they're used to the accommodations and they're not getting the curriculum modified so that they're not thrown off so much when they get to the college.
In college versus high school, it's a lot more important to be the initiator. No one's really, if you don't do something, no one will say, why didn't you do this? You have to look out for yourself a lot of the time, and they'll help you like if you ask, but you have to be the one to ask for help first of all, and then you need to figure out things with your schedule and their schedule.
The financial responsibility for equipment that's needed for the college varies widely as far as who has to pay for it. Personal devices such as eyeglasses and hearing aids have to be paid for by the student. The college will usually have software such as Dragon Naturally Speaking or Kurzweil available to students, but some students may need other technology or other equipment, and that needs to be discussed during the intake process. It may be that the college will pay for it, but it may be it is the student's responsibility to pay for it, depending on what it is and how it's used.
I know there's a lot of assistive technologies that you can use here, like Dragon Naturally Speaking is available in one room in the library. The services such as note takers and using the assistive technology that St. Thomas has is free of cost to students.
Disability documentation is usually required in order for a student to receive accommodations. The kinds of documentation needed may vary from student to student, but usually the sources of documentation would include high school records, which would be an IEP and the last evaluation, medical records, or documentation from a psychologist, specialist, Social Security, or vocational rehabilitation.
Try to talk to the disability services that the school has, find out what services they offer and what documentation they need. I know at the U, you need a lot more documentation than you did here.
In order for a student to receive accommodations at a post-secondary institution, they will need to meet with a disability coordinator. That meeting is usually called an intake interview. If you have questions about your documentation, a student could meet with a disability person either during a college visit or during the intake to see if the documentation that they have is sufficient. At the intake, the student will need to provide documentation in order to receive accommodations. From that time, an accommodation plan most likely will be put in place for that student. Some accommodations take additional time to implement, such as audiobooks, braille books, sign language interpreters, and technology needs. Some accommodations can be put into place, however, quite quickly. So that's why it's important for a student to meet with a disability coordinator before school starts, so that these accommodations can be put in place and can be ready to go the first day of school. Students should also be aware that there are other services off campus that could be very helpful in the completion of college. One of these places is vocational rehabilitation, and another is Social Security. So check these out to see if you would qualify for these services.
College is the most challenging time of my life so far, but it's also been the most rewarding time. So I want to wish everyone good luck on their search, and you can do it.
I wish you well in your post-secondary journey.